Recording in progress.
All right, good morning. Welcome to the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners Board Work Session for Wednesday, February 18th, 2026. It is 9:06 a.m. My name is Ty Menzer, Chair of the Board. To my left is Vice Chair Commissioner Wayne Fournier, Commissioner Rachel Grant. We have Commissioners Emily Klaus and Carolina Mejia. Participating virtually, County Manager Leonard Hernandez and Assistant County Manager Jennifer Walker. We have a number of topics this morning. The meeting's being live streamed to the Thurston County YouTube channel. A written public comment may be received up to 2 hours in advance of the meeting and distributed to the board. Action may be taken at this meeting. First up is our kind of annual check-in with Thurston County superintendents. We really appreciate them being present. We have about 45 minutes to kind of talk about issues in each of your districts and have any sort of discussion we'd like to have. This has always been a good check-in in my experience, so we're really happy to have all of you, and we'll do introductions so that everybody knows everybody. And so we did our introduction. Let me start with you, Kevin.
I'm Kevin Bogerson, Superintendent, Tumwater School District.
Chris Wood, Superintendent, Yelm.
Troy Oliver, Superintendent with North Thurston.
Clint Tenino.
Kirsten Rue, Griffin School District.
And then, Jennifer Bethman and Patrick Murphy send their regrets. They're not able to make it today, so.
Okay, very good.
Rochester and Rainier.
Olympia.
Rochester, Olympia.
Ryan Barr is not here either.
All right. Well, Kevin, you want to start on the end of what's going on in Tumwater, or anything you'd like to ask us about or highlight about your district?
Well, I mean, first off, thanks for having us. This is always a good opportunity for us to share some things going on. So first off, I know you'll probably hear this because a lot of us have been successful. Sorry, I sit next to my friend here to my left about levies. But the Tumwater School District did just pass a capital levy last week. And so, those are always interesting. And I think we've been paying close attention to Yelm and that knowing that these elections aren't just, we don't take that for granted. We don't take the supporters from our community for granted. And so they seem more and more difficult, a little bit more volatile in our communities, and just, so to pass a capital levy, it's about a $50 million investment into our Tumwater School District. We do have aging facilities, and so a lot of times the capital levies and the money that we spend there is things that you don't necessarily see. It's roofs and HVAC and well, you see a new carpet that doesn't look new after a couple days, so those kinds of investments. We also have a few other things on there. We're trying to address a little bit of capacity need. So we may have some additional spaces, things like multi-purpose rooms at a couple of our schools, but also supporting outdoor play. We know we want to get kids outside, so we don't have a lot of covered spaces, so adding some covered playground, ADA accessible. And then our conversation really is how do you make those more accessible and more available to our community. So a lot of our facilities are sort of locked up, fenced in. So we're having conversations about how to make those more accessible after school, weekends, in the summer. We're in the first year of a launch of a comprehensive strategic plan. And that's been kind of a huge part of the work over the last this school year. It's been really exciting to see different schools really take and own the plan. One of our middle schools, we have this portrait of a graduate that has attributes that we want for our graduates. And so even our middle school is taking that and having kids, they had a portrait of a graduate night, and the work that they're doing in the classroom, tying it to those attributes, and then sharing that with their parents or rating themselves. So those kind of ongoing conversations and seeing each individual school take that and kind of run with it is exciting. Our board really is also interested in continued progress, continued success, and so that strategic plan will be a guiding document for years to come. And it's really starting to take shape within our school, and it's really been a huge focus for our board meetings, for work sessions as we continue to figure out how to measure, how to put up a dashboard. That was our most recent work session, was really around what are the metrics that really are aligned to this and how should we share those to the public and how to make that more front facing. So that's an ongoing challenge. Lastly, I'll just talk finances just in general. I know we talked about the capital levy, but this legislative session has not necessarily proven to be necessarily huge support of K-12 education. We're hoping for just flat and not a lot of cuts. But just sort of that flat has an impact to all of us, that we will all be experiencing cuts in this coming year, some greater than others. I have a chart in my pack here we've seen just in 5 years, a 100% increase in our insurance costs, like from $900,000 to $1.8 million in the last year. And we have not seen that kind of investment that's kind of under that material supply and operating costs. That kind of investment, if you did the $100 there was a bill, $100 per student would be a $600,000 investment into us. But the increase we've seen has been, $900,000 just in that category alone in just this short period of time. And so we've been getting some small incremental support, $20, but that's ultimately what turns into reductions for us. Like we cut, the costs go up, we reduce, and the cost of everything just keeps going up. So that piece is volatile. I think we all wish we could be investing in our strategic plan, investing in kids, investing in the things to try to get better results, better outcomes. Our community wants opportunities, so we're really kind of struggling with how do you provide that for all kids at the same time in an economy that's struggling, and that support financially. So I don't know, in a nutshell, it's like, a lot of things are going well in Tumwater. We face a lot of the similar challenges.
Questions for Tumwater? A question, so my wife teaches in Olympia, and so I'm acutely aware of enrollment and in her school there were 3 first grade, now there's 2.5, and now they're talking about 2, that kind of stuff. And is that how's your enrollment trends in Tumwater?
Yeah, and our enrollment trend has been somewhat flat, but declining. So we've underestimated or overestimated our enrollment each of the last 2 years. So we're trying to be more conservative. We've done some studies, I think, almost across this group. The birth rate's lower in Thurston County. So we saw a lower kindergarten. We had a school where I had to collapse a kindergarten class at literally in the last day, and move that teacher to another location. And I saw that happen in a couple, I think North Thurston had that experience. So we saw a decline in kindergarten that was probably greater than expected because we already had it. We saw the trend. We estimated down, and it was lower than we even thought. So that volatility around enrollment, even in a community that, Tumwater has developments and houses and we have things growing, it's not turning into families and kids. And we kind of expect maybe some slow growth over time, but we're trying to be pretty conservative at this particular moment. But I would characterize it mostly flat, but yeah.
Okay, thank you.
An issue for us for sure. That drives resources.
Not liked your comment, but it's a very true comment that flat growth is still a reduction.
Yes.
Environment of inflation, and that's something that the county is grappling with.
Yeah, and I think statewide, it seems like every agency, every department, all feeling the same crunch.
My wife had to go to K-1, and so I hear about that every night. The challenges with, how to do that.
You teach a split K-1?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say we probably as a group would say that's not our favorite split class to roll out there. Kids just entering the system for the first time, pretty tough.
All right, let's go to you.
Well, challenges in Yelm are not any secret. We are fully operating without levy dollars currently. We did not run it here in February. We ran it in November, did not pass. We're reevaluating when we'll run it again. We've had to cut a couple $1 million mid-year just to balance the budget, and we'll have multi-million-dollar cuts for next year, near the $8 to $10 million range without levy dollars. Obviously a significant challenge because we rely on those dollars heavily, and so operating without those, you learn very quickly how much you depend on those dollars to fill in the gaps and to provide staffing, especially when we're upwards now at about 85% of our budget is people. Used to be much lower than that, and the cost of people has just risen, and then as you'll hear from everybody, the material supplies and operating costs, we don't get enough to keep up with those. So it becomes very challenging. Yelm's also in a unique situation. Our enrollment is down this year, kindergarten particularly. We're graduating more kids than are coming in. However, Yelm has about 1,000 units that are being built or in the process of being built. That's single-family homes, multifamily homes, within currently and over the next 2 years. That's just in the city limits. We anticipate even more in the county. They recently did some zoning changes in Yelm, so that will change things. For some folks that were in the county, they are now in the city. So then that gives them the ability to subdivide and build if they choose. So we anticipate more growth. However, loss of levy dollars does have an impact on enrollment. Students will go to other districts. We've had to cut several programs. We've had to trim back in athletics. We're only offering varsity and JV at the high school next year. We're not offering any C team or any middle school athletics next year. And we have a lot more cuts to make this spring to prepare for next year. Mid-year, there are only so many different cuts that you can make because you have contracts and collective bargaining agreements to honor. But we've had to do quite a bit of cutting this year. And we work closely with OSPI and the ESD because we are in what's called binding conditions, which means there is financial oversight. We meet with them quarterly and talk about ways that we can cut. Quite honestly, those are the conversations. And how do we do that and maintain basic education? That's our reality right now. It is a tremendous challenge, and not one that I would want any district to go to. There are a few that have had to go through that temporarily. But in addition to that, we weren't expecting much in the way of support from this legislative session, given it being a short session. But it also doesn't look like we can expect too much next session either, just based on everything we're hearing. We pay close attention. We have regular meetings with those involved and our legislators, and so we work closely with them. We're hopeful for next session, but we're not hearing that it's going to necessarily be a priority for funding. So our challenges continue, and we'll continue to work through those and find unique ways to try to offer our students the same programs and services as other districts, but we can't provide the same level that we've provided in the past.
Questions for you?
I imagine you've done a postmortem each time you've run the levy. What are your theories on what's going on? And what's your plan? I mean, well, you alluded to not necessarily knowing what your plan is yet, but what do you think the deal is?
A lot of reasons. Tired of paying taxes. We hear you're fully funded. You're not transparent. You've mismanaged funds. What are you teaching our kids? I didn't vote. All of those. Superintendent is awful. Whatever, fill in the gap. But we have a unique community in that we do have a lot of people live outside the city limits. You do hear a lot about tired of paying taxes. And we do have families and people in the community, again, outside of city limits that don't have children in school. And we hear over and over that financially it is challenging for them to see taxes continue to rise. And that's the one tax they have a say on is the local one. And so if they can, they'll say no. But all of those other reasons contributed as well. But we also have lowest voter turnout in Thurston County in Yelm. And so you've got a lot of yes voters not even turning out, people that would support schools, because the community itself supports kids. I mean, they absolutely support kids. Just try to take away sports and you'll see that. And we had to take away a theater program and drama at the high school. And families upset about that. So programs and services for kids, people support, but there's not always the connection to needing those levy dollars to continue to provide those things.
So voter turnout is probably the biggest.
That doesn't help, the fact that our voter turnout is pretty low. The last two elections, we've seen an increase. I think there's been a strong effort in the community to try to increase that, and so we have seen an increase. But overall, that's challenging. And then we have a portion of our district that's in Pierce County. And notoriously, they're a hard no. And so then Thurston County, portion of our voters have to make up that difference. And that difference seems to be greater and greater with every election for, again, a variety of reasons.
Thank you for your leadership. I think few understand how hard it is when you're leading an organization through cuts. It's always great when there's more money and you get to add, but doing it the reverse. Thank you for your strength and your courage as you walk through that. I think Thurston County is stronger because you've had a steady hand at the helm. Thank you.
So you mentioned like flight out. Have you guys felt pressure from enrollment coming in out of Yale?
We haven't seen that yet. I'm kind of waiting until we'll get into transfer season where people start making decisions for next year. And we always get a handful of families from Yelm. Typically it's their proximity to our school district. It's a lot closer to get to our schools, and there's some transportation boundaries are kind of interesting, but we're paying attention to that influx. We'll be working with Chris and his team about, what does that mean in terms of us accepting transfers, and some of our schools are pretty full and we don't have room to even transfer within our district, let alone take a bunch of kids from Yelm.
So then how does that affect your budget? If they're residents in Yelm, does that tax money get shifted to your district with the enrollment numbers?
So the state apportionment comes with that, yes. So the dollars follow the kid. But sometimes the dollars don't make up for the amount of staffing you need to provide the services. So it's a
Do the dollars come in at their voted level or your voted level?
our voted level.
Interesting, thank you.
If they're out of district, they wouldn't come, the only money that comes in is the apportionment from their enrollment, not the voted dollars locally. Those don't go, those stay local. But the apportionment for the specific student. So you get funded for your students, and then on top of that, you get the local levy dollars for those who live in your
The
school
local
district.
levy dollars don't transfer.
They would not, no. It would just be the amount you get per student from apportionment.
So then you have to take that into your calculation on how many you can accept and.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a challenge every year. People often say, well, why don't you just take, all the students that want to come in? We turned away a lot of students this year, in large part because we have full schools. And so additional students means overload. So it's a balance. You've really got a balance between the overload piece, and is that fair to those families that live in the community and whose children live in the service area and attend the school, to overload classrooms with students outside of the service area. Then they don't come in nice, neat grade levels where you can just add a teacher and say, great, we've adjusted that, but you pay overload. And so then there's an added cost to that. And like he's saying that the amount of money we get from the state doesn't necessarily cover the cost of serving a student, especially if you're going to be paying overload to a staff member to serve that student. And again, teaching is becoming more and more challenging with the challenging behaviors and situations we're seeing in the classroom, that overloading doesn't seem to be the best option any longer.
All right, Troy, we'll go into North Thurston.
Yeah, so North Thurston, the economic story is very similar, and I'll touch a little bit on that a little bit later. So a couple things that we're doing, and I'll kind of highlight our theme of the year, and it's expect great things, and kind of how we're trying to take minimal resources and take what we have and continue to get better for our students. So a couple ways is this year, for the first time, first time in many years, we adjusted our early release schedule. It used to be every other week throughout the course of the year for about 90 minutes. And we basically shortened that up to where it would be every week starting in October and going through May for a little bit less time. But the focus of that was to make sure it didn't reduce our instructional minutes for our students at all, but it gave more regular and consistent opportunities for our teachers to meet together in professional learning communities. And the primary purpose of that professional learning community is to sit down to coordinate and collaborate around their curriculum and then also student outcomes. So how are students doing? What students need additional time and support to meet standards? And it's really a chance for us to reboot our multi-tiered systems of support, which is gonna be really important because in 2028, the state's going to transition from a special education identification process that leans on that system to identify students who need specially designed instruction, special needs. So we've taken that time, resource, and trying to use it more effectively and more efficiently to improve student outcomes.
Can you explain a little bit more about what that means and what
Yeah,
that
let's-
is?
So the multi-tiered systems of support or the?
Yeah, the special education and.
Yeah,
the
so
student
right
transition.
now, there's a model, and I hate to call it a wait to fail model, but if a kid gets far enough behind in their education based upon where they're supposed to be in terms of a standard, there's a discrepancy model you can use to identify a kid for special education services. But it doesn't necessarily require the system to make interventions and do things along the way for the kid to catch up or keep up. Because we want to keep kids out of special education services unless they truly need specially designed instruction. We don't want to put kids in special ed who are just behind because of life circumstance or educational circumstance. So that's what the system is supposed to do going into the future.
Does that mean, so the adjustment there is what, more paraeducators or?
Not necessarily more paraeducators. It's basically having teachers, rather than teaching to the middle of the class and the kids at the front end maybe don't get what they need to accelerate and the kids at the back end continually get left behind. It's to say, okay, no, we're not teaching to the middle anymore. We need to teach all our kids. And how do we differentiate the instruction? How to differentiate within the classroom and within our larger services for title services, lab services to get kids caught up and using those resources. But you gotta know where they are and it takes time to do that analysis and work with your colleagues to determine how to serve them. So that's really what we're trying to use that time for. And it's not unique to North Thurston, it's common across the
We're
system.
starting to do like team teaching, like, so there's a special ed teacher and a gen ed teacher together in the same classroom supporting kids, so you kind of have that, another adult so they're still getting exposure to gen ed content, but getting supports that are tailored to their needs.
Are you more able to do that because a lot of the instruction is done through like their notepads and stuff, so you're able to cater it to each individual student?
There's some of that I think AI and technology are helping a bit with that, but also, we see the most success where there's the most trained, best teachers like that. The teacher makes the difference, no question.
Another thing we're doing with just trying to improve is our elementary instruction in reading. We have a brand new adoption called Core Knowledge on Language Arts this year. Teachers, this is the first curriculum adoption that has universally been pretty well accepted by teachers. Usually any change takes a couple, 3 or 4 years for them to really embrace it. What they're telling us is, first of all, the curriculum is rigorous and they were not sure that the students were gonna be successful with it, but it's so engaging that the kids are really into the content as they're learning the reading skills, and it's based upon the science of reading. And we're also supplementing that with a K2 phonics and phonics instruction, not whole language, phonics and phonemic awareness instruction. So that continuum is really benefiting our students. We're seeing results that are outpacing previous data points that we've had before with internal assessments. We're really excited to see how that's gonna shape up. The other thing that teachers are saying, which is exciting to them, and it's really exciting for me and my team to hear, is when students go through one of these CKLA lessons on a specific topic, they end up at the library, and the librarian knows, without knowing what's going on in third grade, can guess what's happening content-wise, because kids are going there and asking for books about reptiles or volcanoes or whatever that content is. So it's sparking their interest to learn about other things while they're learning the skill of reading. So we're really excited about how that is going in our first year, and the results that'll produce for our kids long-term.
What do you call that program?
It's called CKLA, it's Core Knowledge Language Arts.
Okay.
it's a new curriculum. And there's a previous version, this is the newer version. The previous version, there was some hiccups to it, and some people were a little bit critical of it, but the newer version is really strong, and we're seeing some really good results with that. Flipping over to some support from our taxpayers, going back to the 2020 bond that we passed in North Thurston Public Schools and the 2024 capital levy. Some of you, I saw you over at the RMAC when we did the grand opening, the ribbon cutting about 2 weeks ago. So that's the Rajmon Haas Activity Center off Sleater Kenny. That we opened the southern end of that. It's now housing the Ignite Family Academy, which is a homeschool, family school, public school partnership program that we started about 3 years ago, and it has grown. So this additional space will allow that to continue to grow. We've moved our Family Youth and Resource Center back into that facility, which is an opportunity for families and students in need with just basic needs, hygiene products, clothing, maybe connections to other supports. The Fire Center, the Family Youth and Resource Center really facilitates that. They have now a brand new space downstairs in that new building. And then the Southside Reading Foundation, which has always been partnered with us, is moving back into that facility in a fantastic new space. And then our archives we moved them over because they were outgrowing our space in the service center. So fantastic new facility that was supported by our 2020 bond. We're excited about that. And then the big project that's coming up is what we had been calling the Young Child and Family Center. Board adopted the name LEAF, acronym, Lacey Education and Family Center. That'll be built on the property over by Nisqually Middle School, across from the new development, the Mushroom Farm area. And that is an early learning center that will house 18 classrooms to support the early learning preschool programming. And that was supported by our 2024 capital levy. So we're really excited about that. And the shovel will be in the ground here in the next month with an opening in the fall of 27. And we have a variety of community partners. The City of Lacey, the Lacey Timberland Library will run the library on that site. We're working with Bezos Academy as a possible in that program, as well as Hands-On Children Museum. So we're really reaching out to a variety of community partners to close that gap in terms of early learning opportunities for students in preschool across the entire region. Then talked about the budget enrollment. We're tight just like everyone else. We were down about 50 kids year over year from our budget. And what made it a little bit more complicated for us is while the students showed up, more of them went to Running Start than we anticipated. So that means the dollars just come in and go straight out to Running Start. Gravity program, which is run by the ESD, Center of the Gravity program. We're just kind of the fiscal agent that gets the dollars there. So when students show up, but they don't show up in the programs that you staff for, it costs us a little more in staffing. It causes us to make some adjustments. So we're gonna be making some pretty significant changes staffing wise going into next year to match our enrollment numbers, to keep us in a fair financial state as best we can, knowing that every year costs outpace the dollars coming into the system, and we have to tighten down and be more efficient all the time. I don't want to finish up with talking about, I mentioned our theme of the year, Expect Great Things. We do a video every month to highlight something in our district that fits that theme of Expect Great Things on our website. They're fantastic, short 1-2 minute videos. We highlighted our Regional Teacher of the Year, Jackie Gibbons, as one of those. She's an algebra teacher at Aspire Middle School. So highlighted her in one of the videos. We highlighted our River Ridge High School robotics class, which is doing some really fun stuff and doing some competitions. Lacey Elementary through a career exploration unit that they did with the students there. Then my favorite is I came across a conversation with one of the students in my superintendent student advisory council about something that she was doing. She's a senior now. Apparently her freshman year, a bunch of her buddies were on the swim team. And she would go to all the swim practices, just kind of hang out with them. And then she decided, I want to be on the swim team. She didn't know how to swim. So she joins the swim team without knowing how to swim, learns to swim, and now this year, in one of her events, she'd already shaved like 45 seconds off her personal best. So just kind of going from, I don't know anything about this, to I'm gonna try it, to I'm gonna be successful at it. So we highlighted Davion in that. She's a Timberland High School senior and a fantastic kid. So we're trying to highlight those things throughout the course of the year. And then proud of our board of directors. They were recognized as regional School Board of the Year by the Washington State School Directors Association in the fall. And then lastly, if you aren't aware, you're all invited to our annual Billy Frank Jr. celebration. It's coming up March 4th. And that's at River Ridge High School at 5 to 7:30. It's a great collaboration with the tribe. All of our schools participate. It's just a fun community event. If you're able to make it, we'd like to see you there.
River Ridge?
It's River Ridge High School, yeah. And if you haven't been out that campus for a long time, you won't recognize it.
I crossed paths with you on the ribbon
Yeah.
cutting for the library, and that was awesome.
Yeah, it's really coming along nice.
I was at the Billy Frank Jr. event last year, and it was fantastic, so I would encourage everybody to go. Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Clint, proud superintendent, Tenino School District. We have a lot of great things happening in Tenino. We're super fortunate that we continue to have tremendous community support. We have been working really hard to shore up the relationships that we already have. So an example of that is in my first year as a superintendent, I know this is year 5, we wanted to have a community event for all of the folks that contribute, whether it's volunteering or financial, whatever they do outside of our regular school day, have something that honors them. The people that are always putting in, hey, you don't actually need to do anything except show up and we'll honor you. And that gained a little bit of traction, but never quite got where I was hoping that it was gonna get as a real celebration of our whole school community. And then in conversation with the Tenino Chamber of Commerce, they were having an annual social with kind of the same headwinds, like, this just isn't getting where we want it to get. So I said, what if we just did it together? We'll just host one community event. And that took place this last January, and the attendance was fantastic. It was that true, we called it the Community and Unity event, and so it was just co-hosted by the chamber and the district. And it was a fantastic opportunity to showcase the value of the partnerships that we have throughout the community. Within our schools, we're trying to make a much better concerted effort, again, to celebrate the work that's happening every day. So our administrative team, we do regular building walks where all of the administrators in the district get together. We go through the classrooms and then just talk about what great things that we saw. That way the principal's not alone, in some of our buildings. It's just one administrator. And it's hard to kind of be in that little echo chamber by yourself, like, who am I gonna bounce good ideas off of? So we do that, and then we also, our school board participates in what we call board walks, where we do the same thing. Board members will schedule time, again, very busy folks, and important reminder to everybody, these are unpaid volunteer positions that are really just wanting what's best for kids. And so our board members are very active in the buildings as well, so we go through, again, see the great things that are happening. Our staff are, I can't be more grateful for the staff that we have in trying to help us meet the challenges that we've got. So, an example, similar to things that you've heard, we're not in a position where we're just flush with cash, but we're very fortunate that we're stable despite some continued declining enrollment. But our staff's really stepped up to help us kind of meet that challenge and look at ways that we can offer the things that we want to be able to offer within some of the budget constraints that we have. And so, again, for us, I think the community sees and appreciates that. On a little different note, we did just recently, looks like we certified, pass our capital levy at around 52.75%. Our hope had been a potential bond measure, and seeing some of the things that were happening, relying on some very smart folks at the state level that do pre-bond planning and help understand the overall landscape of things, they'd recommended that we consider not running a bond measure, run a capital levy. And with that 6-year capital levy, we're able to plan for bigger projects that we otherwise might not be able to. So we know that we have failing infrastructure with roofs, things that you've heard about HVAC systems. And again, the most recent example for us, Parkside Elementary, one of our K2 school, to completely replace the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system there is gonna be just over $1 million. And so these aren't small ticket items. The good news is we don't have to wait until the end of that 6-year capital levy to consider a bond measure. So if things change, sentiment changes, and we feel like, instead of trying to continue to fix some of these facilities, it's like don't have good bones, like everybody seems to understand that framework. We need to have new facilities that can deliver the education that our kids deserve. We can run a bond measure basically at any point with a later collection date. So those are kind of the big ticket items in Tenino right now, but again, couldn't be more grateful for the support of the community and look forward to keeping on.
All right, thanks. Griffin.
Yeah, Kirsten Rue, in my second year here as the superintendent in the Griffin School District. We're the smallest of the bunch. We're just under 590 students, and it kind of bounces around that 590 number. Pre-COVID, Griffin's numbers were up closer to 640. So that's a pretty significant reduction, but in the last 3 years or so, we've held in terms of our enrollment. Now, I say that we have held, but one of the things that is unique about Griffin is that we attract a lot of students coming to us on transfer. Many of them from the Shelton, Mason County area, you know, a few from Thurston County schools. And about 20% of or a little over 20% of our student body are coming to us on transfer waivers. So
Is that
that's
a high number, or
interesting.
is that a similar number with the other schools?
That's
Sounds
really
high.
high.
That'd be high.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a beautiful thing in that Griffin is a place where people want to send their kids to school. It's a TK through 8th grade school, one schoolhouse district. And then the students, when they go to high school, most of them go to Olympia School District. We have a strong partnership with the Olympia School District. The vast majority of our kids attend high school at Capitol. But we have a handful at Ole, we have a handful at Tumwater and North Thurston and various other schools in the area. But truly, I'd say over 90% of our kids are in the Olympia School District. And so I work with Dr. Murphy over in Olympia just to keep tabs on how our kids are doing once they get to high school. One of the things that we're super proud of, and I just think we need to always, as superintendents, be sharing the successes that our students really have. But last year, we had 92% of our 9th graders, so Griffin kids who went to the Olympia School District and finished 9th grade on track to graduate. That's high. That's way above state average.
Do you compare that to the kids that weren't Griffin kids?
Yeah.
So I imagine you guys are all a
It's a
little
little higher.
competitive. What is it, what
It's
is
a
that,
little-
what is the
Patrick's
breakdown?
not here, I'll
Olympia's
say
not
it.
here, can we get the?
We're outpacing the Olympia School District.
I have a Griffin Grizzly. Roger went to Griffin and
Yeah. Yeah,
so we do pay attention as Griffin parents, like who's
yeah.
graduating and yeah.
Yeah. Now, our kids do well once they get to high school, and it's our job to prepare them to do well once they get there. And I think we're doing a pretty phenomenal job at that. We've got a wonderful staff doing the work, and one of the things that we've been very focused on the last couple of years is increasing student voice, student sense of belonging and engagement at the school, and in particular, trying to do that by expanding the enrichment offerings that we are offering at the middle school level in particular, but even in elementary, we've really, embedded a lot of STEM. And our art teachers getting in on it too, so it's STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And just, there were a lot of kids when I showed up last year that were spending a period of their school day TAing an inordinate number of kids. And I thought, no, let's get them experiencing options in regard to what's out there in a variety of enrichment offerings, from creative writing to future technology, and a number of others. So we've got an environmental class that we added into the mix, and partnering with our local tribe, Squaxin Island, connected to that class. So just some really cool stuff happening around expanded enrichments and expanded clubs. And next year, we're gonna borrow ideas from those that are already doing this in Thurston County, but our school board really believes that seventh and eighth graders, we can have school board reps. And I know a lot of school districts with high schools have high school reps. But our board, we're gonna bring some seventh and eighth graders in as school board reps going into next year. So that's a project we're currently working on. So overall, expanding that student voice and student engagement. Challenges, broken record, small district, small budget, a little over $11 million general fund budget, and we're gonna need to look at cutting at least $400,000 going into next year in order to stabilize. We just kind of, our ending fund balance has been going down, and we've got to take some strong measures this year to stabilize that. So that's the challenge going into this spring. And we'll make it happen.
What's your staff, like total staff for your district?
In terms of teachers,
Oh, yeah.
teaching staff, we've got 34. Yeah.
How does that compare to like Tenino? How many, how many teachers you guys have?
We have 175 staff for the district.
I saw here, flash.
I think somebody else did before.
No.
You mentioned, I can't talk. You mentioned youth representation. We recently in our Board of Health, we opened up for a youth member, a non-voting youth member to be on the Board of Health. And I'd never gone through interviews like that, so I didn't know what to expect. But like we had, how many applicants? 9 applicants. We've still got a few more to do. I wish you guys could watch them, but we don't tape our interviews. These were like the most exceptional kids. And they came from your schools. They were the most exceptional kids I think I've ever seen. Like some of them I wanted to hand my badge over to, like, you're the commissioner now. There was one that came in talking about preparing for a TED Talk.
Wow.
Like, they were all class presidents, they were all, like, it was all ingrained in this greater, most of them ingrained in like a greater plan that they have for their next step in education. Like, you could, all these kids were absolutely calculated, absolutely polished. It was impressive.
Yeah.
It was very cool.
I'm looking forward to the process.
It was wild. Some of them I was like, who is this?
And I think we could say that our kids are not letting us down. Like, they are stepping up, and we are amazed on a daily basis on the accomplishments of our kids. I mean, we feel like our generation is well prepared to go off into the future. It is kind of like, can the infrastructure and housing, and like, we worry for them. Their drive and their like vision for what they want is very clear.
Yeah.
I have a student at middle school who wants to be, she's gonna be governor and state representative, and she's a go-getter. And I have no doubt that she will accomplish those things. Like, she is involved and connected, and we'll be sitting here one day. So and that's just one example of kids kind of across the map. They're well positioned to be successful. And it's like, I think it's then our responsibility to figure out how to navigate some of these things to make it at least a little bit easier for them. I feel like that this generation's got some challenges ahead of them.
All right, well, perfectly timed presentation. Is there any final questions for our superintendent team?
No questions, just thank you again. Wayne stole it, Commissioner Pointer stole it right out of my mouth. I was gonna commend all of you for the amazing group of students that came through, because I was just so impressed. You never know, right, what you're going to get whenever you're putting out an application, but just every single one of them was just brought in equality. They brought in environmental health, which even with our current Board of Health membership, right, environmental health is not very high up, but all of them talked about that aspect and just thankful to all of you, of course. I have my students, my kids who are attending your school districts, and very thankful for the partnership there. But yeah, always look forward to this presentation.
Before you go, so the one thing I didn't hear much about, and maybe I'm not sure who wants to answer this, but how are we feeling overall with the health of the kids? So how are you feeling supported with social work and with case management and with the low income and, and in that realm of things? I know that there was a big discussion in the last few years around, some local dollars sometimes will pay for, some of the social workers or the caseworkers that we have, and how are you guys feeling on that end of things?
Yeah, I'll jump in on that. So North Thurston's been fortunate up to now where we've had mental health professionals assigned to every one of our schools, at least part-time. And one of my biggest concerns, it keeps me up at night as a superintendent, is our budget gets tighter. There's zero funding for that staff. And I don't see a path forward without potentially reducing that. And it kills me to know that that's a reality of where we are. So we're starting to think about how do we support people in or how do we connect with community providers to make sure students have those services that aren't necessarily in-house and build those relationships. But it's a concern of mine. There's no question about it. I do see, I think we've all have some variation of mobile phone policies in our schools and through our high schools. I do see us, when we get our kids off of screens and I'm in there in the lunchroom and they're interacting and chatting with each other and we see in the classroom they're talking more, they're not all just on their phone anymore. That's encouraging. That sort of interaction I think is healthy and important for their development and growth. So for us, in North Thurston, it's important that we maintain that expectation for students, not just because it's a distraction, that's a big part of it, but because it's good for them to get off of those screens and all the social media and the conflict that comes with that. We're not seeing, knock on wood, the conflict that breaks out at the after fifth period because somebody posted something about someone's girlfriend at lunchtime. That sort of stuff is largely gone away. There's a little bit of it, but it's making a difference. And I think kids are recognizing that they're happier and healthier when they're not glued to their screen all the time. And sometimes it just takes the adult to take that away from them before they say it's okay, because now it's not the peer pressure thing.
Can I ask a follow-up on that? Like how, schools are doing this great job of keeping phones away from schools, right? But then outside of schools, when they're seeing their parents also glued to their phones, right? Like that's kind of learned behavior really that the kids are doing of like, this is the norm to be glued to your phone. So like, how is the battle of having to kind of rewind that behavior from what they're learning at home?
Once you establish the norm, and I would say K-8 through our middle schools, they've got it down. It's our high school kids that are struggling with that a little bit more, keeping in mind that our juniors and seniors came into high school when they could have their phone 24/7, whatever. So they're still transitioning. I don't know if we have the tools or the wherewithal to take on the parental part of it when we still haven't figured out our own classroom part of it. So, we're working on managing our environment, but I think there is a recognition. I have a superintendent student advisory council, and we asked the kids about our cell phone policy right after it was implemented, like 3 months in. And they quickly morphed to dishing on their parents, saying, my mom is, and all this. So they're very aware of the adults in the environment, their parents and other adults that are connected to their phone all the time. Sometimes for really good reasons, sometimes not. So.
I just wanna know that when your best and brightest came, when your best and brightest came and interviewed with us, nearly every single one of them said that one of their main focuses of interest was youth mental health. I didn't expect that. I still don't know exactly what that meant, but I thought it was interesting that nearly every one of them remarked on that.
I guess I just want to say one more thing related to your initial question is the thing that concerns me when we have to make cuts,
Right.
significant cuts, we've all got to, we need to deliver the core instruction. I mean, that can't get cut. But I've watched it happen as funding dries up a little bit. It just chips away at programs designed to help some of our outlier students who just need extra. And whether it's academic support, social emotional support, mental health, that kind of thing. And those are the things that become at risk as we just whittle down to basic ed. And I think we lose out on an opportunity potentially to help these students ultimately reach their potential. So,
Yeah, and we're an optimistic group. I think you hear that in this presentation. I feel like we could be here for another hour and just talk about the challenges of public ed and specifically kids. We have kids in crisis every single day. We have kids who are suicide ideation. We have, they're homeless, they are, there's abuse, there's drug abuse, there's sexual abuse. It's the issues are not, like they're prevalent.
Yeah.
And we're trying our best to help support them. But again, I think that's a huge area of need, in this county, in our region, in our state. It's an area of growth that we need to do because there's kids in crisis that we can't serve well enough.
Absolutely.
And it's gonna take our whole community to help them.
You know, King County ran a levy years ago, something called Best Starts for Kids. And they have levy dollars that in King County where, though their only function is to provide those additional CTE sports that, it goes all the way across the spectrum from pre-K to social workers to McKinney-Bento, all the way to CTE dollars, to how do we support across the spectrum? And so, and that's one of those things that I think about all the time is, what can we do locally to support those things? My child was a Griffin kid and, Chris knows him. But the reality of that, when we were at Griffin, we moved 8 times. So the 20% that you're talking about, that would be us because we couldn't afford a rental. So we would go from living in inside district to needing to live in Shelton. So then there's a Squaxin Island bus. I mean, just to give you guys a reality of it, there's a Squaxin Island bus that drives kids over to Griffin. And so as a young, single, struggling mother, I'd drive them there. And then we went to the west side but I wanted my son to stay at Griffin. So he did, and he graduated through Griffin, but we had to transfer, over and over again. So I'm consistently thinking about, what it means to support the families that are struggling with housing insecurity and food insecurity and then our kids who are dealing with our mental health issues. And, I think that's just as important. I'm also the daughter of a Griffin school teacher. So, who retired from Griffin, so we love Griffin, go Grizzlies.
I love
Yeah.
those multi-generational stories. I hear them all
Yeah,
the time.
yeah, so anyway, I'm good with thinking about.
All right, thank you so much, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Move to our next item. Lodging tax advisory committee recommendations.
Good morning, Ellen. Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. As Ellen gets started this morning, I wanted to let you know that there was a minor version control issue with the PowerPoint presentation this morning. And there were just minor changes for readability that are in this PowerPoint that will be presented to you today. And we have hard copies that I'll pass around now.
and this bill will be passed out. I just want to thank you for your hard work on this topic. Implemented the process improvements from prior years and it's helped in the deliberation and how things play out.
Thank you. No, I haven't.
So it's like a ready.
Appreciate that. Yes, good morning, board. The Lodging Tax Advisory Committee met twice this year, and they met on February 9th to present recommendations, go through applications, and then present recommendations here for you today. So just a little bit of an overview. We received 32 applications this year with a total request of over 564,000. As a reminder, you approved 250,000. And one interesting thing to note was that 12 of those applications were first-time applicants. So more awareness about these and more opportunities for funding. The advisory committee recommended funding 18 of those 32 projects, in addition to the 84,000 that was set aside for the FIFA fan zone. So that's a separate category. Just as a review, the scoring rubric is shown here. And as you'll note, the bottom section included the priorities that this board had discussed leading into opening applications and scoring applications. Besides that, it has been pretty consistent throughout the years for the scoring. So these are the funding levels that are recommended by the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee. And 18, like I said before, 18 of them were recommended for funding. And they are they're in scores. This list is ranked in score order. So you'll notice that the average scores ranged from 88% down to the lowest one on all of the applications was at 37%. So these are the funding levels. And a little bit of the decision-making process. The committee had chose to fund applicants that were 55% or more, received 55% or more on their average score. We then rounded those scores to the nearest 100. So we used the same approach that we did last year of if they received 88 of their average score, then they received 88% of their requested funding. And then we rounded that number down to the nearest 1,000. We decreased all of the applications by 16%. And then there was a little bit extra room that we needed to make up. And so the town of Bucota had the lowest return on investment and thus was deducted to fit the parameters that were approved by the board. So that was the decision-making process this year.
I just want to kind of on the process too. This is kind of like a further improvement upon this method that we came up with 3 years ago. Talking to some of the applicants since then, and a lot of them were at the VCB board meeting yesterday. They all seem to really appreciate the way we do this. I think it's a little different than some of the other jurisdictions. We take a little more feedback and involvement from the applicants. And we're really trying to make sure that the outcomes match the intent of the LTAC dollars. And so, as it's not in here, but the LTAC dollars come from the hoteliers or the places where you stay in a jurisdiction. And for us, that's unincorporated Thurston County, where we have bed and breakfasts and very few hotels. We have Airbnbs. So the intent of those dollars are to put people back in those beds to replenish the fund. So that is why the board adopted the scoring rubric that we have on page 3. That said, the top half of that scoring sheet, it really focuses in on where those beds are that we're trying to put heads back in. And then we put on the bottom caveat that we really like these other extra things. And they do provide somewhat more of an area benefit than the specific benefit to those specific hotel places. But that extra commissioner bump doesn't necessarily put them to the highest scoring level. And the applicants, you know, the ones that I talked to yesterday, they recognize that, and they said that, you know, while it's hard that we have favorites, we really like that the process puts out outcomes that meet the intent. And so, while, you know, the number one scoring one was the fair, because that one provides and enhances county infrastructure, so it automatically gets an extra 25 points. It supports unincorporated, gets an extra 20 points, and then it got to 10 points. The next ones were ones that maybe were more focused. So there's 100 points possible. Nobody got 100 points. And then we just tried to apply fairly the apportionment. And so we went by scores and kind of appropriated the dollars based on how high it scored. And it seemed to come out pretty well. And I think all of the commissioner priorities were funded at varying levels.
Can you talk about, like, again, obviously this is that's just a description, not necessarily telling me what the project is.
Oh, correct,
So
that's
like
the applicant, yeah.
Like the second and third biggest awards were EOB and EDC. Those aren't like events, so what are those?
And it doesn't have to necessarily fund events.
Yeah, I
It
know.
can fund marketing, it can fund anything that somebody makes a case will bring tourists in from 50 miles or beyond. And the Experience Olympia and Beyond one and the EDC one, it's kind of a complementary application where the EOB, and jump in if I'm not saying it correctly, but the EOB put together an experience that would be like a craft beverage experience where you would get like this passport to come down to Thurston County, and you would go to all the various places throughout the county and check out some of the things that they have to offer. Some of them are wineries, some of them are like Three Magnets has NA beer that is like widely known in the brewing industry. It's kind of a big niche that they've picked up. Or it might be, Latin Cider Mill where they've got, locally made cider. So there's like a beverage trail that they've created. And then the EDC is working to create a beverage guild. So if you are a brewer, say you and I each have a brewery, Ty?
Yes.
We can't team up together and market our stuff because of the liquor control laws against us. It's basically, it exists for the big breweries to keep the small brewer down. And what we can't do is go and market each other, but if there's a guild that is a separate entity that represents all of the local beverage makers, that guild can do the marketing. So the EDC is creating the guild that would do the marketing for the beverage industry.
Interesting.
It's pretty cool, and it all came out of like when Shauna and Aslan went down to the Nation City Conference in 2019 and kind of looked at all these different communities that have these big group benefit experiences, and they've kind of been trying to cook this up since then.
I support efforts to subvert the ridiculous LCB rules in Washington State, so go ahead, Commissioner Mejia.
Thank you. Before I go into some of the comments that were stated by Commissioner Fournier, I'm wondering, besides the applicant information, can we also get the event, or what is it exactly that, they were requesting funds for? Is it event marketing? What is the specifics of it? Because, just seeing the applicant's name, it doesn't give me kind of the, backyard bricks. I don't know exactly, and then everything else looks fine. I do want to address the piece of commissioners picking favorites because, as I've been on this board and seen kind of that LTAC recommendations and seeing last year where some of the events that we have funded before all of a sudden did not get funded, and then yet we're funding something that's coming from another county to bring to an event here, that's not really necessarily putting heads in beds. That's kind of what I wanted to address when we were like, we need to be funding high impact community events where, you know, they are recognized. The procession of the species is one that is recognized across. I was very surprised we did not fund South Sound Block Party when it was named like the event of the year in Seattle Times last year. So things like that where I was just like, those are bringing heads and beds. And it's not just the impact to South County. There are Airbnbs that are located all across both the Steamboat, Cooper Point, Boston Harbor area, Johnson Point, that are also in the urban growth area that contribute to these funding levels. So I will push back against that notion that we picked favorites. It was more of a recommendation of like, these are high capacity events that we have in our county that the LTAC board should consider. Because, you know, what I've seen in the past is that there have been kind of some favoritism going around, and I wanted more of that broader lens to be seen.
Just so that within the application process, the individual applicants self-report where they put heads in beds and how many heads they put in beds. So the assessment that ends up with the score is based on the applicant's self-assessment. So if an event applies and we flat out ask them, where will you be placing heads in beds? And they say, oh, we won't be placing very many. Or, you know, it's something to that effect. They get ranked on what they tell us. And that's really how the assessment is made. And I think that's important. That we have to, you know, sometimes there's some of that, you know, it wasn't our application process. There was another jurisdiction's application process that was talked about yesterday where the estuarium made the claim that they put 7,000 heads in beds. You know, it's self-reported. You know, it was the City of Olympia's application process, and the reviewers on the LTAC committee kind of, you know, they kind of looked down a little bit at that, questioning that data, and I don't know. I don't know how you would play that out. Maybe 6,000 visitors, but to say you put the South Sound Estuarium put 6,000 heads in beds, it's right to question that. It's hard to question. We don't get to interrogate the applicants. We don't get to say to South Sound Block Party, hey, you think you can bump those numbers up a little bit? It's what they tell us that we rank it on. So, and then, you know, you know, we have to do some, I think we have to do some more research on how that rubric is done next year, because what we can't do is like pre-cook the outcomes, because, you know, the LTAC committee is an independent committee that is supposed to sit outside of us without a ton of influence. That's why we adopted the scoring rubric. And then it comes to us with an up or down vote. So, you know, like if we don't like the results, we're saying we don't like the rubric that we adopted and gave to them. We then would kick it back to them for them to come up with a way to do things different. But I think this was done pretty fair and objectively, and the applicants themselves have spoke to that. We have said we'll do an after-action review with some of the applicants and some of the, like the industry experts, where we can, you know, talk about how we can do some process improvements. But I think we've come up with a good product. And those numbers are the numbers that they give us.
Well, my comments were not towards the recommended funding levels, right? And you're conflating kind of my two comments. So I'm not saying anything about the recommendations that came through. I'm just asking staff for more information. What I was pushing on you on was your comment that, you know, on the scoring rubric. And so that was where my comments came in. And kind of previous recommendations that the board has seen. And trying to understand and kind of where that board commissioner's priority picked. It wasn't about the board.
I think we can in the future be intentional about the flavor of things we want supported. I'm not sure that we can, or if I don't know if that's the best practice to say, well, I like this one event, I want it to get 10 extra points. I'm just saying, I don't know if that is,
Well,
in my understanding, is the best way to be intentional about things without making it pre-cooked. But, I'm just thinking out loud.
and, I don't think we necessarily have to list out projects, but it can be a county-wide community impact event.
Yeah.
Because I think that really plays into what we're trying to achieve with LTAC, right? And who we're trying to bring into
Yeah, and those,
hotels and
those comments
Airbnbs.
came specifically from commissioners, but there is opportunity for us to take a look at this, and as Commissioner Fournier said, Ellen, go to your last slide of recommendation. The LTAC Advisory Committee wanted to review the scoring and provide some thoughts to the board, but, and we can facilitate that and bring that back. The commission will also get we'll get all the commissioners a little bit more background from just the title. We'll give you an expanded overview of what the event is and some event information. I think that'd be helpful for you.
I think your comment's on point. I mean, if that list was a whole bunch of random things, it would be real squirrely, that like as a procedural thing. I think that the things that we identified are pretty tight and maybe that's just the happy medium, because in theory, I understand exactly what you're saying.
I voted to support that rubric. I just then used it and then had thoughts about it, and I'm like, hey, let's talk some more about it.
But it's just like, I feel like the commissioners we had a few things there and, I feel like I go to almost everything in the community that I can possibly go to, and there is nothing that, other than an anti-Trump protest, there's nothing that fills the streets of Olympia like procession of species.
Yeah,
So
no.
to have that go through and get no funding last year was just like, I couldn't believe it, like that was just, it was enough to make me deviate from what might be a perfectly hermetic practice.
But you could understand if
Yeah.
we're scoring based on what
And
the
they
report
didn't
says.
write, and maybe they were being more, like Estuarium saying, we're putting 7, and when you've got something like that and you don't have something, like you can write in and count and you're guesstimating, some people are conservative about that. I know, I say that my bluegrass band, we always get asked, like, how many people, if we were to play at a venue, how many people can you put in? Now, if I wanted that gig, I could go, we're gonna put 200 people. You guys know me, I would never say that. I'm always like, well, I'm always super like, I never wanna overpromise. So I'm always under, and we don't get those gigs.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what happened in Procession, they didn't wanna
Yeah.
overpromise beds, cause they don't, it's, a lot of people, it's from the community, it's a community event, right? Like, it's not, but it's also something that, if you read about Olympia anywhere over the last decade or more, they talk about Procession of Species, it's just something that, it's kind of one of our claims to fame in recent years.
Just the marketing that comes out of the visuals is valuable outside of just the
Exactly, the
event.
visuals. Yeah, any brochure about Olympia, if you're not using the procession pictures, you're missing the boat.
The sun is.
The sunflowers and the
So, like,
flamingos.
I guess the moral of my story is like, I think this is a good process. I think it's gotten better over the last couple of years. I think this reflects good work that was done by the LTAC committee. I also want to continue discussions with the board and with the LTAC committee to make it better.
Sounds reasonable. So what do we need to do? You're gonna get some information and then we'll bring it back for approval?
I can bring.
We're not approving it today, right?
Good.
Well, I think the next steps are, notify the applicants of award status, so if there's something you don't wanna approve, we can't notify the applicants.
We can approve today.
I would like that, I just wanna know, what is Backyard Bricks?
Red Backyard Bricks is an event in Yelm at the Yelm
Yeah.
Community Center where it's gonna be Legos for
Okay.
January 31st, or no, December 31st of this year, January 1st of next year. And that will purchase swag bags. All the money will be spent in 2026, so it qualifies and it sounds like a cool event. It was
It's gonna be a
presented by-
big Lego contest in Yelm.
I've heard, yeah.
It's gonna be fantastic.
I've heard them talk about, I just,
I can
that's my
answer,
Backyard Bricks.
if I can't answer
I
it,
was
I'm
like,
sure
what is
Ellen
it?
can, but I can answer pretty much all of them.
Commissioner, just for clarification, I think I might have steered you in the wrong direction. Why don't you explain the process, Ellen?
Yeah, so generally, last year, the process was that we had given you the information, we provide project descriptions, and then you approve it on consent items at your next board
Okay,
meeting, which would be
that's fine.
March 3rd. So
I'm okay with adding
we
it
can
to the
get you that
agenda.
information if that's helpful, and then
All right, put it on there, and then any commissioner that has any questions has from now to the end of.
Yeah, we'll just send you a little bit more background on all the events.
As long as we understand that we don't, the commissioners don't get these and then we come back and change the recommendation, that can't be done. It would have to be sent as a package back to the LTAC committee.
Yeah, no, I think that's been the process, but a little bit more information on what each of them
We'll send that out via email.
would be good.
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Ellen. This represents a lot of hard work, Ellen. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Is Scott here to do an update on?
That's gonna be according to the clerk, first commissioner item, so we've got bylaws and then it would be the executive session.
Okay.
Do we need to flip that for
I
something?
have a hard stop at certain times, so, but yeah, I mean,
But do we have Scott lined up at a particular time?
Scott is joined online right now, so
could we
You
do
can
that
it
now?
Yeah.
Any objection to that?
Is it listed at a specific time?
No. It's not listed at all,
I didn't
actually.
even see it on the agenda.
Yeah, it's.
right, but we can call the executive session at any.
All right, so based on the follow-up from yesterday's public hearing, we have a need to call an executive session pursuant to RCW 4231I to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency matters relating to agency enforcement actions, or discuss with legal counsel representing the agency litigation or potential litigation to which the agency governing body or member acting in an official capacity is or is likely to become a party, when public knowledge regarding the discussion is likely to result in adverse legal or financial consequence to the agency. Our topic is the home energy score, and we have counsel here present, and I'm gonna say 20 minutes.
I think 20 minutes is more than enough, yeah.
It's 10:22, so we'll be in executive session until 10:42.
Recording in progress.
Okay, it's 11:01. We've completed the executive session that was kind of called on a somewhat impromptu basis. And just for public's awareness, the board members had many follow-up questions for council, and there's gonna be follow-up and probably an additional executive session in the near term, so it's that's where things stand at the moment. So next up is item 4, bylaws, chapter 2 review.
Thanks, Ashley.
And we had some proposals and then commissioner input and then some revisions, and I'll let the clerk walk us through where we're at. As she passes out to me.
Somebody needs an extra copy of all of the comments.
Are they the same as the things that we got already?
Yes, there's 2 additions in the pass out the packet of all of the comments received. The comments from Commissioners Fournier, Mejia, Commissioners Grant, and Commissioner Klaus. And in the back of that packet is also 2 emails, one that I responded to Commissioner Klaus and one that I responded to Commissioner Fournier on one of his comments. So what I would propose doing today is running through each section and highlighting which commissioners had comments on that section, so we can all pull up those comments. And the purpose of this is for staff to receive board direction on what comments to include and how to proceed. Any questions to start with, or?
Yeah, let's just see how it goes.
Okay. So, there's not a 2.0, but Commissioner Mejia had, included a comment on 2.0 controlling authority. We can start there.
Thanks.
2.0.
Yeah, there isn't a 2.0. My suggestion was to add one. Basically, just adding language that, they are, there's a lot of county code. In the event of conflict, state law and county code shall control. Meeting requirements are further addressed in Thurston County Code, Chapter 2.02. As adopted and amended by ordinance, including ordinance number 16179. And this is just to highlight whenever, I think it's good to highlight that we already do have a code chapter kind of addressing this, as well as an ordinance.
I read all your comments and I liked them.
So that was just my suggestion, just to kind of have something where if people have questions about different things, just addressing, the chapter and the ordinance that kind of conflates with this section of the bylaws.
Any comments on that suggestion? Okay, so I guess there's concurrence to include that.
Added. 2.1, Open Public Meetings Act, Commissioner Klaus provided a comment. And this was one that I believe I provided a response to. Commissioner Grant has her hand raised.
Go ahead, Commissioner Grant.
Sorry, I had a personal appointment that I had to go to, but I just wanted to give you guys my input on this. I reviewed all of the everyone's suggestions, and I just wanted to let everyone know that there isn't any suggestion that I saw that came from anyone that I wouldn't approve. I kind of feel like it's really more of a yes and for all of our suggestions, and that I'm interested, so just giving you guys that feedback, because I might not be able to respond here in a little while. But I think most of them are great, and I'm interested in seeing them all incorporated.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
So on 2.1, Commissioner Klaus had a comment regarding more info on OPMA. And I did provide a response in the email that should have been in the back of your packet. That Chapter 4230 RCW is an entire chapter and would be hard to summarize in one section of bylaws, and it would not be appropriate to cite a list of what may or may not be more enforced or lessened.
So just referring to it is sufficient?
Yeah, so just referring to the state statute.
And Commissioner Klaus was saying what?
Honored comments?
I'm just having trouble sorting through all of this.
It says, notice of intent to establish a subcommittee, shall be provided 24 hours
got
in
it.
advance
Okay.
by who to who,
It was a different one though. She was asking about 2.2.
2.2?
Sorry, 2.1, it's on the first page.
2.1.
Oh, 2.1.
No,
2.14,
Oh, okay.
2.21, right?
2.1,
It's down on the bottom.
some of the comments are out of
OPMA?
order,
Yeah.
but we are going in
Sorry.
order of the
Okay.
bylaws.
What is the process for OPMA needs a bit more info. What are the resources to look for? Yeah, so just referring to the OPMA laws, you're saying?
Okay, Commissioner Klaus, do you have any one thing you want to put in there? I mean, are you?
No, I don't think so. I'm wondering if the packets that you all have physically are the same as the one that's attached to the calendar because I'm switching between screens on the email that Amy sent me in response to my questions and the packet which doesn't have all of that information, and it sounded like Amy said the responses were in the packet as well. So I'm just trying to make sure I'm using the same
Sent out
material.
earlier today, I think. There was an email that was sent out where she responded to your questions and my questions.
Yeah, I have the email, but it just wasn't included in the packet. So I was wondering if there was a packet that had those included, or should I just keep using the two different documents
The
to follow?
The packet that's posted online does not include all of the commissioners' comments. We haven't done that in the past for the bylaws so far. We have just included the initial draft of the chapter, but all commissioners' comments were emailed out to the full board, and I can pull that email up and re-forward it to you, Commissioner Klaus, if that's helpful.
Okay, I have that email. I'm just switching between screens to follow the conversation, so, which is fine. I just might be a little slower to answer questions, but based on what I'm hearing, I don't think I have any additions. I think what Amy has provided in response is sufficient for this section.
So it's a state requirement for us to get OPMA training like every 2 years. So would it be appropriate to put in there, it's incumbent upon each commissioner to stay current on OPMA laws in accordance with RCW, whatever the heck it is that says we need to take it every 2 years?
Yeah, if you'd like, that'd be appropriate.
Okay, let's go to the next one.
Okay,
I think
so,
everybody was fine with what we've got.
okay. On section 2.2, there were comments from Commissioner Grant and Commissioner Klaus. Commissioner Grant's comments as to clarify governing authority by explicitly citing applicable Thurston County Code and county policy numbers in addition to state law to ensure transparency and consistency. And Commissioner Klaus's questions were regarding the process to rectify errors, how are changes made to the public, if an agenda is updated, and what constitutes an emergency.
And you have your response in the email.
Yes, and my response to Commissioner Klaus's questions was rectifying errors in public noticing depends on the type of notice and governing authority for that notice. Agendas may be updated up to 24 hours in advance and are posted online for public accessibility. That was my response to that.
What constitutes an emergency?
That's down 2.8.
Those emergency meetings.
Yes, 2.8, which is emergency meetings, refers to RCW 4230.070, which governs emergency.
If you declare an emergency to have a meeting, then you waive the 24-hour meeting posting requirement. Which, if it's a special meeting, you can hold.
Well, I mean, if that's what we're talking about, could maybe just adding what you've got in 2.8, you could also add it to 2.2. You could say in cases of emergency as allowed by RCW 4230. Is that, if that's the same criteria, that might address Commissioner Claus's concern and be clearer?
And that's for a posted meeting. You have to post a meeting within 24 hours. It has to be hung up, like, so the public can notice it. But then when the meeting starts, there's nothing prohibited us from amending an agenda
Correct.
or adding things to an agenda if the board takes a vote to add something to an agenda.
Correct. The board may amend the
Okay.
agenda.
Do you think
before
that's
hearing any
clear?
meeting.
I wouldn't want it to give the impression that nothing can be changed within 24 hours, because once the meeting starts, it's all up in the air.
To the board, if you'd like to
Do you think
include
do you think that's clear?
on that. So what?
That 24-hour notice, like, right, so Amy has to post a meeting agenda. Like, it's gotta be hung on the door and it's gotta be put up on the website and the public's gotta be notified that this is what we're gonna be talking about, 24 hours in advance. And that can't be changed. Once that's posted, Commissioner so-and-so can't go, Amy, I need you to change this, and county commissioner can't go, Amy, I need you to change this. It's locked in that 24-hour zone, but then when the meeting starts, the council, the commission has full authority to take a vote and add something to the agenda.
You'd like it to
I
spell
think
that
it should
out?
spell that out. A commissioner, individual commissioner can't just walk something onto an agenda. That's where our commission items or whatever we call it gets a little weird. That creates the opening for somebody unilaterally walk something onto an agenda. But the MO is that once the meeting starts, the board itself can amend it to do anything.
Amy, do you need to research that, or is that pretty clear?
That's true. We wouldn't amend an agenda to approve something without it having proper notice. If, for instance, you wouldn't amend the agenda.
Final decision can't be made?
Right, you wouldn't amend the agenda to take action on an ordinance per se if it wasn't noticed 24 hours in advance.
I think we should give her time to spell that out.
Wordsmith.
Because, for example, where I came from, if it wasn't an emergency item
Yeah.
and it wasn't on the agenda, the board could not discuss it or take action on it.
Okay.
They could simply say, I'd like something added to the next agenda, take a vote on it, and then it would be added.
I like
In-
that. I would like,
in
that
this-
makes sense to me.
This environment, commissioners' items is an area where things are added to the agenda. And I want Amy to research that clearly, because our practice is such, but if she's gonna articulate it on paper, she needs to sit and talk with council about it to make sure that it's appropriate and we're not steering the board wrong. Partly because we continue to have at least one community member create a lot of false narratives about things being done wrong all the time, and we spend a lot of time in public information requests, et cetera, that if we can clarify something, it would be helpful.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think that this though is where kind of, like, I don't want us to get into the weeds because again, we have a code that highlights kind of a lot of these issues. And again, there's chapter 2.02 that has the Board of County Commissioners and kind of all the kind of rules around it, it very clearly states like, the board may take action at any regular meeting. It specifies what a regular meeting is, what a regular budget meeting is, or regular quarterly meetings, action shall have the same meaning as set forth in RCW 42.30. What was I reading in terms of the agendas? Agendas for each regular meeting, the board will prepare an agenda as provided for RCW 42.30.00077. And an agenda will be available no later than 24 hours in advance of the published start time of the meeting. So I don't want us to be like conflating to the,
Well, I think maybe what you're saying, tell me if I'm wrong, and I agree if it is what you're saying, is that the bylaws are not a place to restate what the OPMA is. They're things where the law doesn't say, but we wanna memorialize a Thurston County Board of County Commissioners practice, and so we put it down. It's not the place to try to recapitulate other statutes.
Otherwise, this bylaws would be like the RCW.
Yeah, and then you're getting into trouble. And what if it's and that's what Leonard's hitting on, is like, what if we interpret it a little tighter than what the statute says, and then we do, then we get in litigation with, community members, and then what happens there? So I mean, I think we should resist trying to interpret the law that's already there, and just,
I would like that clarification though.
that is a good clarification though.
We'll
Yeah,
get the
about,
clarification.
yeah, being more rigid about how we can address the agenda ads.
So just to wrap 2.2 up, I will add, in response to Commissioner Klaus's comment, I will reference the same RCW that's referenced in 2.8.
Comma, as allowed by
Yeah.
42, I mean, that's, I think, helps with that, cause like, emergency, what does that mean? I think that's a fair. If it actually refers to another statute with guidance, then makes sense. All right, let's try quorum.
Okay, so 2.3, Commissioner Klaus had a comment on this section. The question was, what actions are prohibited without a quorum? My response was that, as stated in the draft chapter, no action may be taken without a quorum present.
Although, isn't there a very, very broad definition of action under like OPMA or somewhere? I know when we go to the trainings,
Final action is what is sometimes.
not always just final action, it's discussion, it's,
There's a wide swath of what could be considered action.
yeah, I mean, I think that anything but other than passive receipt of information in the absence of a quorum
Or
is-
scheduling in the next meeting.
that's kind of how I look at it. In terms of, if we only had two commissioners, we're not gonna do much of anything. Maybe listen to information, but don't get into a discussion about it,
Yeah,
cause I think that can touch what action means under the law.
we've had that happen in the past during briefings or work sessions where we lose a quorum towards the end, or something, and an informational briefing could continue with no action, nothing other than information being provided.
Yeah, I think what it boils down to is you don't want things to be questioned because of that. It's just a good practice that if a quorum leaves, then shut it down. Unless you just want passive information, but, yeah.
Commissioner Klaus, anything additional there?
No, I don't think so. I think the discussion kind of hits on where my question kind of stemmed from. Yeah, like, I mean, approval of an agenda is in action, but we don't really do an approval of the agenda unless it's a business meeting, which wouldn't be conducted without a quorum. So I was just kind of thinking about different scenarios and what an action would be defined as with this body, because it is defined a little differently in some of my external committees. So that's kind of what I was wondering.
Okay, let's go forward.
2.4 had a question from Commissioner Klaus. The question was, what about weekly meetings, business meetings? And my response was that these meetings are established by the annual meeting schedule, which is referred to in 2.4. As you remember, in November of 2025, that was when we reviewed, this year's meeting schedule, and that was approved by the board by motion.
And when you say recurring regular meetings, is that all encompassing, or is that more like 2 PM on Tuesday?
No, it's all encompassing. It's that big Excel sheet that has the
Yep.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday on it.
What is it? Which one? Sorry.
2.4 meeting schedule. All right, so I think as Amy walks through this, I'd like each commissioner, if you feel like you've gotta have something else in there that's not in there, pipe up, otherwise we're just gonna kind of walk through and assume that, and then we can, if people wanna incorporate something new, like pipe up after following the discussion. So go ahead.
I'll move on to 2.5.
Yes,
Which is regular meetings. Commissioner Grant and Commissioner Klaus had a comment on this section. Commissioner Grant's comment was, add the specific Thurston County Code citation that establishes the time and place of regular meetings to avoid ambiguity.
so designated by county code pursuant to TCC, blah, 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 blah.
Yes. And Commissioner Klaus's question was relatively the same.
Well, I think that's what 2.0 addresses though, right?
2.0 would cover that.
Well, yeah, it addresses the chapter code and so I guess I'm wondering, instead of having to repeat it a million times, that's kind of why I asked for it to be added
At the beginning there.
Meeting requirements are further addressed in TCC 2.02 as adopted. Does that cover what they're talking about here?
That's, I'm wondering if that covers it or if they would like additional language.
This is Rachel. I don't think we need additional language. I was just kind of hoping that if there was something else that was referring to, there would be a link that you could click on and go to that part of the code. Because it might be different parts of the code. But I'm okay with either way. It's not, it's fine.
What do you think, Judy?
Chair,
Yeah.
the part that Commissioner Mejia is referring to, where was that code added in the bylaws? I'm not seeing it on the copy I had.
It's in one of the comment sheets. What it says is 2.0 controlling authority. These bylaws supplement applicable state law and Thurston County Code. In the event of conflict, state law and Thurston County Code shall control. Meeting requirements are further addressed in TCC chapter 2.02, comma, as adopted and amended by ordinance, comma, including ordinance number 16179.
Okay, and that's in, where is that located in the bylaws?
That's included in Commissioner Mejia's comments.
Commissioner Hume's comments, which is a proposal to add a 2.0 section
Okay,
at the top.
I'm good.
okay.
So it's kind of a more general reference to the right part of Thurston County Code rather than a specific
Preface.
subsection. So it's kind of a middle ground there.
Okay, and is there a subsection that specifically relates to this part of the bylaws about the regular meetings? Or is that kind of like what I think Commissioner Grant said, if there's a different section of the Thurston County Code that's applicable to this part of the bylaws, then maybe we should cite it here, unless just saying TCC 2.0 is, I mean, if that section of the code is like cumbersome or long, or there's different subsections, then wouldn't we want to cite which subsection is relevant to this part of the bylaws? Or if the county code is relatively simple, then maybe what Commissioner Mejia proposed is adequate.
I don't know the answer.
It's pretty straightforward. It's, it does have subsections, but it covers basically official meeting room, regular meetings, special meetings, minutes, executive sessions, adjournments, and continuances, attendance of meeting by telephone or video conference, and board meetings during declared emergencies.
Yeah, my perspective is if we're adding a 2.0, then leave it there. And since the board already decided to add 2.0, I think it satisfies.
Yeah, and that's fine with me. I think as long as we have a place that we can, access the other information very quickly somewhere in the bylaws, that will be good enough.
Yeah, I'm satisfied because if the county code that's being referred to is specifically about meetings and this is about meetings, then that matches up pretty closely. So I don't think anyone's gonna have trouble. It would be one thing if 2.02 was about, 17 other things under the sun, but that's not the case.
Great.
Go ahead, Amy.
Great. So we'll move on to 2.6, which is special meetings. Commissioner Klaus had a question. What is the definition of a special meeting? My response was that a special meeting is defined as any time a quorum is present outside of the regular meeting schedule, which includes the date, time, and location, and is discussing county business or taking formal action.
Anything that's not a scheduled meeting is a special meeting.
I don't have any trouble adding, if you wanna add it, that, like special meetings, comma, with the legal definition, what you just said, comma, may be called by the chair, just so people understand what that is. I don't, again, this is kind of for us, but I mean, is that what that sounds fine to me.
It is also, special meetings is included in Thurston County
2.02.
Code 2.02.025.
Or you could say special meetings, comma, defined in code, Thurston County Code, blah, comma, that could be maybe shorter.
Sure.
With the same idea.
Yeah, that works great.
Does that work for folks?
Yep.
Okay, if that works, then let's go to cancel meetings.
2.7 had questions from Commissioner Klaus regarding noticing and if commissioners have the opportunity to weigh in, et cetera. My response was that canceled meetings are posted online in the same way regular meetings are noticed, which just means that they are posted online still, that a meeting is canceled. Commissioners' items should be posted on the agenda and submitted to the chair, county manager, and clerk of the board by end of day Wednesday the week prior to allow time for the item to be added to the agenda, for the information to be routed to the full board.
Any
The
concerns with this? Commissioner Claus?
Thank you. So yeah, my question on this section, I think Amy summarized it pretty well. But I was asking, how far in advance must a cancellation be announced? And so you're saying it would be posted online, but I didn't hear, maybe you said it and I missed it. Like how far in advance should we be announcing cancellation of meetings for like the public's, information?
Ideally, we know of cancellations the week prior when the next week's schedule and meeting materials are posted online. However, sometimes we learn that we won't have a quorum available, sometimes the day of.
Sometimes an hour before.
Sometimes an hour before or at the start of the meeting, in which case notice is just promptly made available online.
It's also addressed on
Item F.
item F, the chair of the
2.
board, at his or her discretion in coordination with the county manager, may cancel any regular daily, quarterly, or budget meetings as needed. And we've had cancellations depending on new information coming in where the board has had to cancel meetings the day of.
Okay, thank you. That addresses my questions.
Great.
Wait,
2.8 and 2.9 had no comments.
okay, great.
2.10 had comments from Commissioner Fournier and Commissioner Grant. Commissioner Fournier comment was that meeting minutes are required for executive sessions. This is one that I responded to just to clarify that for RCW, minutes are not taken at the executive sessions themselves, but executive sessions are recorded in the minutes of the regular special meeting that they're a
Minutes
part
just
of.
say an executive session took place for this reason.
Yes, it cites the appropriate RCW, attendees, and length of time. And of course, if any board action is taken afterwards in open session.
Commissioner Claus?
Thank you. For this section, I didn't have the opportunity to send feedback on this section. Amy, when I sent you my email, I let you know that I sent you everything I had when they were due, but there were additional comments that I might come up with after I have more time. And this is one of the sections where I did have questions because I've been wondering, and I've still been asked by the public about our meeting minutes and like when they'll be posted online and how thorough they are. I'm still receiving questions about that, and I know it's been raised in our meetings several times before, and I know that it's been worked on and improved upon. One question I have is why this board doesn't approve meeting minutes at every regular meeting, because that happens in every external committee I'm a part of, and I believe it happens on city councils as well. And Commissioner Fournier might have some insight as being mayor in the city of Tenino, but is that something that we should be doing? Like, should we be receiving meeting minutes and approving them? Because I would really appreciate the opportunity to do that. I think it'd be very helpful in like my recollection of the actions taken at meetings, because sometimes it does feel like actions get lost between meetings just because there's so much happening so fast. Is that something that we should be doing, reviewing, like receiving the meeting minutes and approving them at each regular meeting?
If I may, meeting minutes are posted online, and Commissioner Claus, I can send you the link to that. And so far this year, each meeting's minutes have been posted within the same week of the meeting.
Which is phenomenal for a staff of one clerk. Yes,
And
And it's never happened before, let me just say.
yeah,
Right.
7
like
years.
We didn't even have code updated when I
Yeah.
first got here.
So that's a huge, but I saw
Commissioner Mejia, go ahead.
Yeah, I kind of want to give some context on the reason why we don't approve meeting minutes anymore. And actually that came from attorney advice. It was from Elizabeth. And just the fact of how our code is written, it was recommended that we do not take action on minutes. And so that's the reason why we used to do it previously, when I first started, and I believe, Commissioner Menzer, maybe you recollect this a little bit better, but, I think it was like, once we were updating our code, it was her recommendation to no longer approve meeting minutes.
I do remember that. I don't remember the ins and outs of like that discussion, but I remember that discussion, I remember that debate, and I remember that advice, and.
I remember the conversation like 3 times last year on this. We've
Yeah.
had subsequent conversations about this.
Yeah.
What I would also add is, this board meets, when I got here, was meeting Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We're meeting still Tuesday, Wednesday, every single week. And that is by far more than all the other jurisdictions, and committees who may meet once a month.
We used to meet 5 days a week.
Yeah, that,
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. There were just miscellaneous slots. There was no clearing of Mondays or Fridays at all. We had, and everything, like today would have been like 5 meetings. Because superintendents would have been a meeting, we would have closed that meeting, started a new meeting for lodging tax. Everything was parceled out. This whole thing of having work sessions with lots of agenda, that's new. Everything was a meeting, and there were just 20 meeting minutes for a week, and it was a mess.
yeah, so I think the improvements that you've made in the last several years, are important, and I think that, the tracking that Amy is doing in the amount of meetings, for the amount of staff that we have is substantial. And I would caution the board about adding additional steps that are gonna add, additional timeframes and workload to an already impacted process.
Commissioner Klaus?
Thank you. I was able to find the meeting minutes online during this conversation, so I appreciate that. Amy, I don't need you to send me the link. And I can point the public in this direction too, now that I've found them. Initially, when I searched, it came up with the meeting minutes for civil service. So, but it seems pretty straightforward when I go to the agenda page. So I'm not sure why the civil service one came up first, but I was able to find it. And I appreciate the discussion and context on past legal opinions. And I understand that Amy's working hard on getting meeting minutes posted pretty quickly for each work session and meeting. I'm still very interested in finding a way to be able to distribute the minutes to the full board and have us approve them. Just because so much happens, and I just want to be very, very sure that we're doing our due diligence and understanding what actions are being documented and memorialized in case there's something missed. And yeah, it would be a lot for any one person to do that. And since Amy's already putting these minutes together, maybe possibly it wouldn't be too hard for those to be distributed to the commissioners in advance and like approved maybe weekly or bi-weekly or however we want to do it. But I am interested in I'm interested in finding a way for us to be able to see the minutes and approve them together as a group.
If I may, all actions of the board, including, which is their formal actions, are included in the minutes. So if sometimes there are little asks for, side asks for information or like an email or something like that, that kind of discussion is not included in minutes, but action of the board is included since our minutes are action minutes, they're referred to as.
Which is why we've been suggesting that the board actually take action, because I think some of the confusion in the past has been just because a commissioner has a conversation about something that doesn't necessarily constitute as action to staff until the board acts, and then sometimes the thumbs up got a little bit confusing at times. I really appreciate the chairs working to just provide a lot of clarity, we push for motions to be made. And I know that our council said you don't always have to do that, but I think with as much as we're accomplishing right now, it's super helpful to have those actions noted so that we can refer back to them. And the meeting minutes are posted online for commissioners to access at any time, correct?
Absolutely.
Commissioner Klaus?
Thank you. Earlier it was mentioned in one of the sections, when we were talking about the Thurston County Code, I think it was Commissioner Grant that suggested we hyperlink the code in the document, the bylaw document. Is that possible to include hyperlinks? And if so, would you be able to include a link to the meeting minutes page on this section of the bylaws?
So long as the document stays as an electronic version only, then yes. But printed copies obviously would not have a hyperlink in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Attendance, 211?
Attendance, 211 had no comments, neither did 2.11.1. 2.12, county manager.
With attendance, like, I like the idea of tracking it, I like the idea of making it clear how to notify, but like there's no, like, when you're in the city council, there's statutory authority to remove someone from office for being absent 3 meetings in a row for an unexcused absence. There's no statutory authority for county commissioners to really do anything with an absence.
Correct.
And I mean, I don't know that we need to specify that, but it's,
We would have to look into what the board would be interested in
Yeah.
and look into its authority and something. If there's nothing in code that.
Yeah, but if there's no authority that exists, the board can't just make it up, because that would be affecting someone's political office.
yeah, you can track it. I look at other ones where they're like, where, you know, it makes it clear how to notify that you won't be there and let the chair know within 24 hours in advance. You know, there's some rules around whether it's excused or unexcused, but it doesn't matter really unless you're like with a charter code city. Because then it's after 3 unexcused absences, the board can vote to vacate them from the seat right there and then. But nothing like that exists with the county unless it's in a charter.
Right. It is noted in minutes when the chair, the vice chair announces that a commissioner is excused from the meeting.
Okay.
Okay, I'm good, I'm okay with how it is. So,
Okay.
so you said there weren't additional suggestions?
Right, not for
Okay.
attendance.
Let's go to 212.
Just, sorry, Chair, one item, only because it's a requirement, and Jennifer may be able to help, but it's against, for employees, it's against county policy for them to be on a virtual meeting while they're driving. And so because that's the expectation for staff, just a reminder to the commissioners, don't join a meeting while you're driving. If you get in a car accident, it will really be negatively impacting our insurance, and also you're violating county policy.
I would just, in my opinion, like, if you're driving, you cannot participate effectively.
Yep.
Like, that's, I mean, if we want to be more clear than that, but
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight it because
Yeah.
it's something that the organization is trained to work with their staff on. And people do get followed up with after meetings because it's part of their safe driving training, et cetera.
I might turn on a webinar and listen to where I don't have to actively speak.
Right.
Because that's like listening to an audiobook or something. But anytime like where I'm expected to vote or speak, I would think that's kind of the dividing line of reasonableness from my perspective. But Commissioner Klaus?
Thank you. Yeah, I am very inclined to agree with the comments I'm hearing about being able to effectively participate while driving. So I'm wondering then if a commissioner happens to be driving during a meeting, and they want to listen in, would the appropriate course of action be to like join on YouTube so we're not like in attendance technically if we can't participate, or how would we want to handle that if a commissioner is driving and just at least wants to listen in?
I mean, the YouTube idea is great. I don't know if we want to make that requirement, but
Yeah, I think if a commissioner feels strongly that they should still they should listen in, they should make a comment that I'm not able to effectively participate because I am en route, turn off their camera, so that it's really about being a distraction.
Yeah, I mean, the policy is clear, you're not to be on your phone. You're not even do hands-free.
Yeah, and that's because from an insurance standpoint, the studies show that when you're distracted, you're gonna crash. And if you're in a county car, or you're in county business covered by the county's risk, yeah, it'll be a bad deal.
I'm ready for self-driving cars.
Yes.
All right, okay, then county manager participation, 212.
Yes, Commissioner Fournier and Commissioner Grant had comments on this section. Commissioner Grant's red line version is included in her comments, with a strikeout to the first sentence where it says as an advisor and facilitator, and adds instead at the direction of the board and serve in an advisory capacity. Commissioner Fournier's comment is that it should note that assistant county managers may attend any meeting and aid in conversation and information sharing.
Commissioner Klaus.
Thank you. I just have a quick comment on this one and would like to apply this comment to every section of the bylaws where it says his or her. Could we make that gender neutral language and just say their discretion?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good catch. It's for ease of reading, would be a lot better. Thank you, Commissioner Cloud.
Thank you.
I guess I have an alternate to both to what's there and what Commissioner Grant said. On the first sentence, because the county manager is not usually the facilitator of the meeting per se, but also it's like to say at the direction of the board. I mean, I think the county managers I don't know, what, could we just say the county manager shall attend board meetings in an advisory capacity,
Works for me.
period?
Works for me.
Okay,
Yeah,
and then
the county manager's role really isn't to facilitate the meeting, that's the.
it's not to facilitate the meeting, and it's also not, it's all.
You could say it isn't in a sense that you orchestrate the staff that attend. I mean, that's
But
more
I
than
think-
advising, because that is like under your direction, the staff attend and you facilitate how that goes. Just to be the devil's advocate, I mean,
But if everybody's okay with mine.
I'm good with it, but there is a facilitation aspect. They don't run the meeting. Facilitate though, however, kinda.
And then the county manager may designate an assistant county manager to attend on his or her place. And then what the idea is to say to aid in, like, do we need something more there?
Commissioner Fournier's
What
comment.
were you, why did you need the extra language?
Because they attend as well, and they have a role in some of these meetings. They're, of the people that sit at the table, it is.
Why don't you just add that the county manager and their designee shall.
We're saying county manager shall attend board meetings, the county manager and or their designee shall attend board meetings in an advisory capacity. That's what we've settled on as a compromise for 212.
212.
Did you get that?
And then we don't have to worry about the rest of it.
Right, the second sentence will be removed.
That'll make it shorter and cleaner.
Sounds good.
Okay, then we're at the board advance,
And
213.
Commissioner Grant had a comment on 2.13. And her red line version is included in her comments.
Let me get to that, 213, let's see, the board shall determine, so it says, we had county manager shall facilitate the format of the meeting and may utilize third-party consultants. Commissioner Grant says the board shall determine the purpose, agenda, and desired outcomes of an advance. County manager may assist with logistics or coordination at the direction of the board and may utilize third-party consultants or facilitators.
I don't care so much, but like there is a lot of logistics into putting it together, and the board typically delegates that to the county manager to facilitate and put together, and it's not it's not necessarily board decisions that are directing where we're taking a vote and saying, this is, you know, what type of cookies we're gonna have.
I agree with that. Commissioner Klaus?
I think I agree with what Commissioner Grant's language was. Yeah, I don't have that one in front of me. There are several different screens I'm using to try to keep up with the conversation, but based on what you read, Chair, I agree with Commissioner Grant's language. I think that for the board retreat or advance or however we're going to refer to it, that there should be some language in here that allows the board to have a little bit more like authority, not authority, but like feedback or input into what exactly are the outcomes we're seeking when we're doing a board retreat. And so I would like to have language in there that allows the board to have additional input into the process.
Commissioner Mejia?
Chair, maybe I'm just confused. So, you know, I think the board advance is led by us, right? Like it's something where we are the ones who meet with the facilitator and we meet with the consultant and, you know, of course, the county manager kind of helps in establishing all that together. And so I'm struggling with the language with that Commissioner Grant says, maybe because it's kind of laying it out just a little bit more, but like to me, it doesn't really, I am trying to kind of see like the core of like what is it that we're trying to change or to get to, I guess, is basically where I'm at or what I'm struggling with.
Yeah, fundamental to the process, Commissioner Mejia, like you mentioned, is a consultant or facilitator sitting down with each of you and getting your perspectives and then blending those together and facilitating some type of interaction and program for a day or 2 days events.
And the board doesn't orchestrate that. I mean, they delegate that to be done.
I guess, listening to everybody's comments, it's the county manager shall facilitate the format. I mean, I guess the question is that not being, is that not giving the board enough direction or authority? Or, I think that's what I'm hearing Commissioner Grant and Klaus seizing on, is the facilitate the format. I guess if we didn't want a third-party consultant, we would tell the county manager, we want to do this a different way. We want to bring in, Jeff Gabman to facilitate or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I mean, to me, that's implicit, so I don't really care. I honestly don't care one way or the other about any of these potential iterations, so it's up to you guys.
Ultimately, we set a direction and we sign a contract with somebody if we're gonna do it to conduct business.
But we have to decide on something, so.
The definition of facilitate is to facilitate something means to make it easier, smoother, or possible to happen, often by providing help, removing obstacles, or guiding a process like a moderator, ensuring that objectives are met and that all participants' opinions are heard. So the board sets the direction and the county manager facilitates that.
I would agree.
I mean, how about we keep that language but add, as a hybrid between Commissioner Grant, we say, the county manager shall facilitate the format of the meeting as directed by the board and may utilize, that way it's clear that we're kind of giving.
I like may utilize a third-party consultant.
And may utilize, is that
That's
a compromise that works?
Yep.
Say shall.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. Yep.
Yeah, I'm saying the county manager shall facilitate the format of the meeting as directed by the board. So I'm just adding as directed by the board,
Yeah.
but you, otherwise using the same language that's here.
I'm okay with that.
Let me just say that we wouldn't even have an advance if the board didn't direct it.
Sure.
This isn't something the county manager's
I
saying,
don't like advance.
our retreat.
I like retreat. I don't know
No,
what.
we don't retreat, we advance.
I like retreat too.
But
I think advances,
I get.
yeah.
That's why people get hung up on it. We don't retreat. Okay.
That's not what, retreat has,
It's a
words
different
have
word.
more than one meaning.
We advance.
No,
Yes.
we're
We
going
chill
on
out.
a retreat.
Retreat.
We're going on a retreat.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea. Commissioner
Yes,
Klaus.
that's the hang up.
I'm with Commissioner Fournier. If we're gonna call it an advance, philosophically, I understand why we're doing that. But if we could say what it is in the bylaws, because I had no idea what a board advance was until we used it the term last year, and it was explained well, but retreat is so
You're making,
commonly used.
you're making me happy, Commissioner Klaus, because I felt like I was just too old to understand why the terminology needed to change, but apparently if you didn't understand either, I didn't feel better. Okay, so, all right, so we're okay with the county manager shall facilitate the format of the meeting as at the direction of the board and may utilize third-party consultants.
Chair, there is a
We could
difference.
say advance / retreat.
I was gonna say, there's a difference between shall, should, and may.
Yeah.
There's legal definition, like shall, should, and may. So shall means it's mandatory.
Which I don't like. In 2.13.1, it says a board advance shall be held. I think it should say should be
Well,
held.
and that's good, but that's a separate point. But if we say as the direction by the board, then I think shall's okay because obviously we'd have to direct it. And if we direct it, then it should be a shall.
It's up to the board's discretion, but there are specific meanings to the words. So that means you cannot deviate from that, because then you're violating your bylaws.
Yeah, I think it's safer just to say that you may do it, because there may be a time where a board says, and you haven't done one until last year.
Yeah, that's why.
And that was, by the facilitators, that was the tough one.
Yeah.
So we're working through this process, and I think it's valuable, it's a best practice for high-functioning boards, but there's still a lot of things at work, which is why you need, there's just some more touch points to get this running like, in a smooth process.
So you're suggesting that it's the county manager may facilitate the format of the meeting as at the direction of the board, as directed by the board, and may utilize third party?
Should or may?
May.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
should indicates a recommendation or advice, may indicates permission or discretion.
You got that, Amy? All right, let's look at schedule. So now this is where Commissioner Fournier has said the shall should be a should, and I agree, shouldn't be a shall.
Should, shall, shouldn't be a shall, shall, not should.
And,
Should?
so
Yeah, the intent of the
got
board.
that one, and then Commissioner Mejia had a comment too, on this one also.
No, it's just a
Correction
correction.
on the numbering.
Yeah, I don't see it.
It was just a correction on the number.
Intent should be too.
So it would read, a board advance should be held within the first 90 days of each year. Notice of an advance must be provided to the full board a minimum of 20 days prior. Commissioner and staff are expected to attend in person. Is that all okay then? All right, Commissioner Klaus?
Okay, so I know we were laughing about this, but all jokes aside, if we want to call it in advance, can we just really briefly just define what that means so that the public knows we're talking about a retreat?
I think we changed our mind about calling it that.
I don't believe.
I heard 3 votes for retreat, if I'm not mistaken. But if we do use advance, I see Commissioner Mejia's face that you really seem like you want to use the word advance. But if we do call it an advance, can we just define what that means? But I am in favor of the word retreat. I just think it's the more commonly used term and people will know what that means.
What if you just say advance / retreat in the title and then stick with advance?
Then you're really muddying the water.
Then people know what it is, then it's defined basically.
I just want to say that this is a common phrase that is used in a lot of governmental bodies, including the state legislator. They have advances, they don't have retreats, so.
Silly.
Commissioner Grant, can you hear us?
Oh, yes, I can.
You might need your tie-breaking vote here for the to retreat or the advance.
I think I definitely understand that advance is kind of a different forward-thinking word, but I would agree that it should I like Ty's idea of doing advanced/retreat. I mean, it really is a retreat. And I think that it's okay to call it a retreat. But that's, I don't know. You guys can decide.
Commissioner Klaus?
I can't pull up the email right now, but when it was either Amy or the county manager, somebody sent us an email when we decided to call it in advance. And I think there was like a 1 sentence statement probably in that email that we could just copy and paste at the beginning of this section. That's like, the board advance is, this, or like, we're looking forward to the future. So this is called a retreat. I think that putting retreat/advance is like putting two opposites right next to each other, and that could also be confused. I heard Commissioner Fournier say that muddies the waters, and I agree.
Answer me.
Sure, we're retreating.
Yeah.
Sure, we're advancing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that too. I think that if we just to do just a little more defining it in
Clerk,
it would be better.
I don't care.
A concise 1 sentence, what an advance is at the front, and then just keep it.
And then a definition of what a retreat is, and each year we'll decide which
At the
one we're
direction of the
having.
board, the commissioners will hold it either a retreat or an advance.
To be decided on January 1st.
Depending on how the
Shall
budget
be
looks.
decided.
Shall be decided.
Okay,
Please make a motion, Commissioner Fournier, I'll second it.
all right, intent. The intent of a board advance is to discuss strategic planning and governance. Advances provide, well, there it is, right? Advances provide an opportunity for long-term planning, team building, or professional development and evaluation of board processes. Should the intent section just go away and that should be embedded at the top? We're almost there, right?
Yes, I think so.
So
Why don't you just put that in the very beginning?
I like that.
take those 2 sentences, put it at the very beginning, and then the board may hold event, and then get rid of 213/1, which is already misnumbered. Which is probably what you were pointing out. Does that make sense?
Makes sense?
All right,
Got it.
subcommittees.
2.14.1 establishment had a comment from Commissioner Klaus and Commissioner Mejia. Let's see. Commissioner Mejia's comment is included in her comments. It speaks to the establishment of it and the purpose.
Commissioner Mejia, I don't see if Commissioner Mejia's.
It's
Right here.
it's in that box.
In the box, I don't think it's in the box.
Right, yeah, it's in there.
About subcommittees? Oh, 214? Oh.
There you go, may I have this?
Yeah, 214.1.
Where is it? Oh, establishment, okay, you got different.
Different terminology.
Oh, okay, I see. It's not about 214,
Commenting on
it's
it,
about
it's adding.
214.1.
Got it.
Okay. Okay, so then 214.1, the board, okay, so what is the difference? Majority vote. What is the essence of that change, Commissioner Mejia?
I'm sorry, let me get myself in order.
I see this, it looks very similar.
Yeah, let's see. I think, let's see.
Okay, you've got a sentence that's different where it says, request to establish a subcommittee shall follow the board's standard process for commissioner requested agenda items, including applicable deadlines for agenda development and public posting.
Yeah.
That's your ad?
Yes.
Because,
Just on like when it's, right, like making sure that it's noticed and.
so you would like, so that your point is that establishing a subcommittee is a significant enough thing that there should be some advanced public notice before we just, like right here, let's form a subcommittee today. All right, I don't see that's a problem.
Be transparent.
Any questions on that?
No questions. I have this in front of me. I was just gonna say that I am okay with looking at just 2.14.1 and 2 and 3, all of the changes that Carolina has proposed. They look good to me. I had put something forward too that just changed the language around in 2.14 4.2, the meetings and agendas. And I think that it's covered by what Carolina has, so I'm okay with that.
Okay. So can we go with Carolina's pieces there? Is there any suggestion or any objection to subbing those out? They're similar, but there's substantive changes in 14.2, which look all right to me.
I just want to say, I don't have Commissioner Mejia's comments in front of me. I'm trying to pull those up right now. The ones that you read, Commissioner Mensah, I agree with, and it sounds like she provided more comments, so.
Yeah, let me just read 14.2. So the 14.2 under hers is subcommittee meetings shall be scheduled by the clerk of the board. Subcommittees shall meet as needed to accomplish the assigned purpose within the authorized duration. Agendas shall be developed consistent with the board authorized purpose and prepared in coordination with the county manager or designee and subcommittee members at the meeting before. The clerk shall distribute agendas at least 2 days prior to the meeting. So that's a little more meaty than what's in the draft.
It works, yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
And
I
then,
like that, yeah.
and then on reports, she's got subcommittees shall provide a status update to the full board at a regular meeting and provide a final report or recommendation or recommendations upon completion of the assigned work. The report may be verbal or accompanied by documents. The report shall include the subcommittee's recommendations to the full board.
I like it.
That's pretty close, but. Instead of 2 weeks, I guess, which is like, you've changed it to at a regular meeting. And otherwise, that's the only substantive change. Is that right?
So, hey, Chair.
Yes.
Sorry, so I think that it sounds good. I'm trying to kind of cross-reference the questions that I asked Amy with what I'm hearing you read
Yes.
from Commissioner Mejia. And I think that it mostly hits on the points that I had asked about, but if it's okay, could the clerk or I can read my questions that I had on this section, and then we can just see if Commissioner Mejia's language hits on all of those? Because it sounds like it might, but I haven't cross-referenced Commissioner Mejia's comments with my questions yet.
Yeah, Amy's ready to go. Go ahead, Amy.
Okay.
Commissioner Klaus's questions on 2.14.1 was notice of intent to establish a subcommittee shall be provided 24 hours in advance by who, to who, and the action shall include title, purpose, duration. Do these components need to be identified by the requester or determined by the board? And what is the process for extending the duration of a subcommittee? Does that request need to come 24 hours in advance, or can it be made during any discussion about the subcommittee that arises during board discussion? My response was that the notice 24 hours in advance refers to the agenda. Since formal action will be taken to establish a subcommittee, must be noticed on an agenda 24 hours in advance. Extending the duration of a subcommittee would also require formal action by the board and need to be noticed on an agenda 24 hours in advance.
And that's covered by Commissioner Mejia's language, I think.
Yeah.
Because it talks about the applicable deadlines for agenda development, public posting. Okay, and then the second thing was about Commissioner Klaus's second part of her question.
What is the process for extending the duration of a subcommittee?
Yes.
My response was extending the duration of a subcommittee would also require formal action by the board and need to be noticed on an agenda 24 hours in advance. So in the same manner.
And that's covered because it says action to establish subcommittee will include duration, and then under 14.2 it says it will go within the authorized duration. Of course, the board could extend the duration with the same process.
Yes. And then on 2.14.2, the questions were agendas of subcommittee shall be determined by the county manager in consultation with the lead of the subcommittee. How do the items on these agendas get selected? Is this something that can be decided upon by the subcommittee members? Nothing in this section about meeting frequency. My response was regarding meeting frequency, that would be determined by the need and nature of the subcommittee.
Commissioner Mejia has changed that to say that the agendas are prepared in coordination with the county manager or designee and subcommittee members at the meeting before. So does that cover your concern, Commissioner Klaus?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you so much for going through that. That helped me a lot.
Okay, so we'll just wholesale take Commissioner Mejia's pieces, replace them.
I like it.
And then I think that's the end.
I have one more.
Yep, okay.
I was looking through the Port of Olympia's bylaws this morning, and they have a subsection on town halls. I'd like something like that, town halls, I'd like something like that incorporated, and I like the way that they covered it. So maybe if you could take a look at that and see about incorporating town halls.
Yeah, we'll take a look and see. Not sure,
Does this board do town halls?
No, individual commissioners doing town halls and rules around how you would conduct them, how you can hold them. It specifies in there how, you can't direct staff to attend them. That's gotta be something that's facilitated through the county. And then it talks, there's a whole nice subsection about electioneering and ensuring that you're having a bright line between campaigning and town halls. And
Work with the court to get their language and
Bring it to the board.
it's available, MRSC has it published on their website. I can forward it to you if you'd like.
Commissioner Claus?
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate Commissioner Fournier's conversation pivot, but I also had some comments on 2.14.3 on the reports of the subcommittees. And now I finally was able to pull it all up. I have Commissioner Mejia's comments and my questions side by side, and I don't know that the language Commissioner Mejia provided for the 0.3 section hits on all of my questions, which were related to, let's see, my question was that 2.14.3 seems a little arbitrary, which Commissioner Mejia's comments did fix that a bit. But I asked if there was a way to make it more malleable so that it can be established in a way that matches the need. And I also think Commissioner Mejia's comments lean more that way. But the example I gave in my question to Amy was, like, for example, if a 6-month subcommittee is established with only one report 2 weeks before the end, it seems like it might not be the best use of like that much time. And again, Commissioner Mejia's comments do lean that way, which I appreciate, but it doesn't quite hit on like when should the reports be provided. Commissioner Mejia's language is subcommittees shall provide a status update to the full board at a regular meeting and shall provide a final report or recommendations upon completion of the assigned work. But the part about at a regular meeting seems a little bit vague, and maybe that's intentional so that there's flexibility. But I'm just wondering, like, should we have a little bit more structure in that section to allow, or like, I don't know, kind of bolster like the structure of this reporting, or is it intentionally left a little bit open? I don't know if that question makes sense, but basically kind of what I'm saying is, like, if we were to have a long subcommittee or even a 6-month subcommittee, would we want regular reports so we know the progress, or is that going to be dependent upon the nature of the subcommittee, and how exactly should that be spelled out in the bylaws?
And if I may, Chair, my response was that additional reports may be provided by the subcommittee to the board throughout its duration via like commissioners' items, emails, e-briefs that we do, et cetera.
My perspective is just that, like, the only reason to have that kind of extra detail is if I were worried that there'd be a subcommittee meeting and refusing to tell the board what they're doing, and I can't imagine something like that ever happening. So like, I just don't really think it needs to be all that explicit. I mean, the subcommittee is gonna want us to know what they're doing, because they're gonna want the board to act on their recommendations. If they don't tell us their recommendations, nothing's gonna happen. So like, it just seems kind of, I don't understand the point, I guess.
And by nature of the county manager or their designee being on the staff will participate on those subcommittee meetings, will be informing the other board members as they request information at any time.
Yeah.
So there's.
I'd rather keep it flexible myself, but Commissioner Klaus, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I think keeping it flexible is a good idea, but I think where my mind goes is like, the word work plan is popping up, and maybe that's like too intense for a subcommittee to have a work plan, but even like a very skeleton version of like, this is what the purpose of the subcommittee is for, and this is the type of deliverable that we want as a board. Like,
Well, like if they go sideways, you're saying, like if the subcommittee, like if we wanted them to do X, but they're off looking at Y, Z, A, B, C.
Exactly, yeah. Like if the subcommittee is established for a certain purpose, then should there be language in here that's like, hey, at the beginning, you know, when a subcommittee is established, reporting schedules will be developed at the start of the establishment of the subcommittee, or something like that, if that makes sense.
How about we say subcommittees shall provide periodic reports? And that's where there's flexibility, but it makes it clear that we don't just wanna know at the very end, like the black box reveal, like we kinda wanna know how the subcommittee is doing as they roll along. Is that?
I like that. Yeah, I think that gets closer, and maybe it could be, the subcommittee will provide status reports at the direction of the Board of County Commissioners or something like that to kind of show that the Board of County Commissioners can tell the subcommittee what exactly they're looking for when that subcommittee is established.
Chair, Commissioner Mejia's notes seem to capture the fact that there will be report outs, there'll be a final report, and also maintaining flexibility.
Maybe you just add an S to update. It says
Yeah, I mean, what it
updates.
says is it shall provide a status update at a regular meeting. I mean,
Say updates.
we could say status updates without the A. Shall provide status updates to the board at a regular meeting or upon request.
Yeah.
Of the board. How about that, Commissioner Klaus?
I like the upon request part. I think that allows the board to kind of have a little bit of say over what that status update schedule will look like.
Okay.
So I think, and I'm also kind of reading through Commissioner Mejia's 2.14.1 comments to see if she hits on it there in the establishment section.
I'll say purpose, title, purpose, and duration will be established by the board.
And maybe we could just put and reporting schedule or something in that line. Or like the action to establish the subcommittee shall include the subcommittee title, purpose, duration, and deliverables.
Okay, any objection to those? I think it's fine.
Nope.
All right. Amy will make changes. There'll be some language on town halls that we could contemplate at a later session and try to finalize these maybe at just a.
Yeah, our approach would be we'll make the changes, send it out. At the same time, we'll get the town hall information, and share that with the board as well for their input.
All right, it's 12:13. Anything else for the good of the order here or future items?
Commissioner Mejia had this that she handed out for our federal legislative priorities. I think this is more informational for everybody. We're all aware of these things, but I think she wanted to give you a heads up, but we also have a meeting right now that we're 10 minutes late to.
Yeah, I think, thank you we would have gone by that. I think it's good for the board to be aware of that, and because we have commissioners going to WASAC to make asks, it's important, I believe, that direction is given so that they're operating under direction of the board. The individual commissioners aren't necessarily, no, as Commissioner Fournier said, nothing was a surprise. Still, the board has not adopted those items, and to send them off to do the work they need to do at DC, it'd be good for the board to make a motion and approve that.
So these are requests. These aren't requests that have been made. These are
these are
requests we're
ones that we're
suggesting
walking
to be
with.
made.
To DC, and we want it clear that this is what Thurston County wants.
Yeah.
Commissioner Klaus?
Yeah, I make a motion to approve the suggestions from Commissioner Mejia.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion to approve these, this summary of federal priorities? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Cool. You have your marching orders, team.
That's what we needed.
Good luck, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for the detailed work today. We're adjourned.
Yeah.